Hoo boy, it's the final location, and normally I don't talk over this part for a dramatic effect, but I wanted to say that there's a lot to do here, and if you're planning on ever playing this game yourself, do not underestimate the time investment involved. I still don't know whether story is the appropriate term for it, but they were certainly determined to make story mode feel like a substantial campaign. I can say that much. Our last location is the Biodome, because someone really likes cult movies, I guess. Alright, let's get on with it. As soon as we arrive, Jared's carpool is here, so we need to get in there immediately. Our first gold want is to do a secret handshake with Noel, but we're not going to be seeing that gold want for a long time. As for Noel himself, he's the stuffy guy with the white hair, and his social need comes pre-tanked, so we need to get that back up ASAP by talking to his wife over and over. Noel is a relatively jerky sim. There have been jerkier, but he has been known to mess up hugs with his wife somehow, so that's something. Filling up the social need by actually interacting in person is really inconvenient because phone calls fill it up much faster, but we want to make sure that we're as close as possible to her anyway. Her name is Jessica, by the way. After filling our lowest need, we're going to prepare Noel for the harsh reality of this location by trapping him off from the entire rest of the house in his bedroom and giving him everything he technically needs to survive, like a refrigerator, and of course some espresso. And a weird golf machine, because at least one of his needs involves a golf machine, and I guess we could use that to fill his fun if we wanted to, but that doesn't seem likely. And by trapping him away from the rest of the house, I mean completely trapping him away from the rest of the house, covering up all the holes in the fences, making it so he can't leave his bedroom at all. He has a lot of grinding to do in this location, and he's not leaving until he's done, and we don't want anyone else interrupting him either. His first couple of wants are innocent enough. He wants to hire a maid. And that's simple. You can hire a maid at any time during any day in the game, and I don't think there's any restriction on that whatsoever. Next, he wants to play golf, and I have to wonder where these balls are going because we're in a giant underwater dome. Won't those just collect at the bottom of the dome? Either way, it's simple enough to fulfill. Then we need to do another stereotypical rich person thing and buy a fancy painting. Now, I personally think this picture of Jared is plenty fancy, but we need one that's worth over 1,000 simoleons. And as you can see down at the bottom, that's going to cut massively into our funds. We're going to be low on money for the first half of this location, maybe the first 2/3. Then he wants to add a room, but closing off this room that we tore a hole inside counts as adding a room by the game standard, so we're just going to do that and then take the wall down again. Now it's time to get into the reason that this location takes so long. We have to master Noel's charisma skill. It's at 6, which isn't too bad, but it's going to take a long time regardless. We could keep talking into the mirror to fill it up, or blog on the computer. Most of Noel's life for at least the next week is just going to be spent in his bathroom and his bedroom, constantly blogging on the computer. Of course, he doesn't really need a bed anymore, what with the espresso machine and all that, but we will find a use for beds finally by the end of this Let's Play, which will be the end of this video. I mean, honestly, I can think of a few people who wouldn't mind living like this. Yeah, he only has 2 rooms to work with, but they're really big rooms. People live in trailer houses. You may have noticed that we haven't really bought anyone things like food processors or ovens or anything like that. That's because you can prepare a lot of meals perfectly fine just using a counter like we did with Noel. Let's check in on Jared, who is reasonably good at taking care of himself. Our simoleons are only at like 88, which is not good, but Jared's doing alright and he makes 1,000 simoleons at work every day, so it can't be that bad. You may have noticed this house has a fancier fridge, which means there are fancier ingredients inside. That's how it works. Unfortunately, with so few simoleons, we can't afford a second espresso machine for Jared, so we're just going to keep stuffing our face full of food in the hopes that it will maintain our energy long enough for us to get to work. There is a way to make food with an energy boost effect, but goddamn does it cost a lot of money, so let's not worry about that for now. It may seem unusual for Noel to have the only access to an espresso machine, but he really needs it. Jard goes to work with barely any energy left, and Noel is supposed to follow soon after since they go to work at relatively the same time, but he's got more important things to do, like mastering his charisma skill by talking on the computer for hours at a time. See, what we're doing to Noel may seem cruel, but he's got like a bathtub in here. It's not that bad. So Noel comes pre-packaged with quite the friend network, and while we can't possibly maintain all of them, we want to call as many as we can to keep the relationships relatively stable for later when they will be important. The first thing I do after Jard gets home is buy an espresso machine, but you may notice that the fridge is missing. Yeah, it's just gone. I didn't delete it or anything, it just vanished, which I assume is a bug. So on the upside we got our espresso machine, but on the downside we barely have enough money to afford a refrigerator. I mean, just barely. And even though we can afford the refrigerator, food costs money, and with only 9 simoleons left, this refrigerator is good for 1.5 meals. There's only 1.5 meals available for the entire house until we get back tomorrow. This means Noel and the others will primarily have to sustain themselves by drinking a ton of espresso, which technically fills up their hunger need, but not nearly enough. We did manage to buy Noel a single trash can, but we don't have the money for a second one, so before he's done blogging, this room is going to be full up with trash. Jard's starting to smell, and with only one bathroom available since Noel's is blocked off, it's kind of difficult to get a shower in. The shower is taken, so I think I'll use the bathtub, but he just fills up the tub with water and then drains it again. He refuses to get in the tub while someone else is in the room. I mean, come on Jard, can't you just get in there with your clothes on? This seems terribly inefficient. Thankfully, we eventually get what we need by camping out directly outside the bathroom. After Noel grabs a snack, our simoleons are now at 0, which means no food for anybody else in the house until Jard gets back from work. That's pretty bad. The hunger need is the only one that can actually kill your sim directly. I try to think outside the box and use harvested ingredients which don't cost extra money, but whatever I came up with is apparently really awful and will make sims sick and feel repulsed by it. So we're just gonna put that on the ground. And you know, I kind of want what Wooster has over there. Wooster looks like he's cooking something good. So let's give Wooster our nasty cup of food. Right? Take it. No, we're giving you a gift. Don't be rude. Take my nasty cup of food. Come on. Put yours down. There we go. Take our nasty dripping cup of food, and we'll grab your much nicer looking food. This is equivalent exchange right here. I'm not sure how Wooster got his food, but that's not important. What is important is that we have to complete the ritual necessary to get Noel to work. Since we blocked him completely off from the outside world, we have to erase part of the fence. And then immediately after he runs past the fence, we're going to put it back, so that way no one else can get into his work area. Both Jard and Noel are going to work this time, which means we won't have a lot to do and no food. Fortunately, they survive until we get back, and with that taken care of, after a couple cups of espresso, it's back to the usual grind. Desperately trying to keep Noel's relationships from failing is difficult as it is, but it's going to get much worse later. All of these friends, they won't be our friends soon. They will all leave us. After much hard work and letting Noel's room deteriorate into a den of nasty dishes, we finally gain our 10th charisma point, but we're not out of the woods here by a long shot. Noel's next want is to sell a great painting, and in spite of my insistence otherwise, it doesn't think selling this painting we already bought counts. No, what it means is to paint a great painting and then sell our own painting. Now, making and selling a great painting may not sound too hard, but it's actually just another skill leveling want in disguise. We have to have our skill up, our creative skill, up to at least level 9 to make and sell a great painting, so that's a lot more grinding still. Meanwhile, Jard is confused and tired, but at least there's that picture of him in the background to keep us all in high spirits. While Noel's off being a painting master, Jard has to be getting a little bit lonely. He's lost a lot of friends on the way here after all, because he has to keep on moving, he can't stop. Unfortunately, in spite of any emotional troubles, he has to go to work alongside Noel just like last time. With those two gone, there's really nothing to do, so I just keep the camera focused on this Jard picture the whole time. Just gotta keep looking at it. Keep our spirits high. We're gonna make it through this. After Noel gets home from work, one of his acquaintances shows up, so we want to greet him immediately and keep our friendship with him stable, but the game isn't sure how we should talk to Phil here. So we do this odd little dance for him, and eventually the game decides the best place to put Phil for this encounter is right inside the wall. Yeah, just slide right in there. In the middle of all that commotion with Phil, Billy also visited, and we really want to talk to Billy as Jard, because well, he's our husband. Gilda, get out of the way, we're trying to talk to Billy. And now it's time for a mechanic we're only going to use once. We're going to ask Billy to move in with us, and he says yes. This means that he is now capable of being controlled in this location. He will bring in extra money, and he'll also be an extra mouth to feed and shower. But still, having him here means the world to Jard, so it's probably worth it. I decide now's a good time to reminisce, but Billy doesn't want to reminisce. He might have forgotten all about our relationship entirely. That seems like a thing he'd do. Then we try to take a photo for the occasion, but he frowns for the photo and then blinds us with his own camera, so that didn't work out either. Our relationship points with Billy are steadily going downhill, and this is because Billy is kind of an asshole. This is why when Billy married Jard, we had Billy do the talking, because while we control Billy, we can stop him from being an asshole. But while we're controlling Jard, we can't control Billy's reactions, so Billy's just being a dick. Of course, we then quickly take control of Billy again to solve this little problem. True love finds a way. Meanwhile, Noel has been painting all this time and is still yet to make a great one. I believe in you, Noel, you can do it. While he's working on that, let's check out Jessica's wants. She does have a few, even if they're not my priority, and she wants a DJ booth, but I'm not sure where we're gonna put it. In the end, I just decide to place it where their old stereo system was, since it basically serves the same purpose. Then she wants to invite a sim over, which doesn't sound so hard. We do have to buy a phone because the phone disappeared the same way as the refrigerator earlier, but I'm sure this isn't going to be a recurring thing. After a couple of attempts, we get one of our alien buddies to come over, and then we decide to go for the dreaded sock puppet social. This'll really fuck you up if you screw with it. But it actually goes extraordinarily well here, so I can say I've done this social at least once in my life without the other sim getting really upset. And finally, after just as much hard work as it took to get our charisma to full, we managed to get Noel's creativity high enough that he can sell a great painting. And apparently, according to The Sims 2, how good your painting is depends on how realistic it is. It's the game, not me. And believe me when I say that was the small stuff, now we're at the big one. We have to get Noel promoted to max career in politics. This requires having 12 active friendships at once, and getting promoted twice from here. So let's fucking start the schmoozin'. Well, there you go, that was 2 hours of footage condensed down into just 30 seconds or so, and thanks to Jard's main character powers, he easily becomes the last friend that Noel needs to get his final promotion to Mayor of Sim City. And there you have it, thanks to the power of, well, time management. You know, that's really how the speech would have to go, isn't it? When he thanks people for becoming Mayor of Sim City, he just thanks time management. That's really all this was. So through the power of time management, Mayor Noel is now, well, mayor, and all of his goals are completed, which means we just have to worry about Jard. And Jard has quite a few wants this time around, only one of them is really noteworthy, but let's take a look at all of them. Jard's first gold want for this location, you may remember, is that secret handshake that we saw way back when we first got here. I told you it'd be a while before we see it again. We're going to want to get our relationship with Noel all the way up to 100, or at least very near it, before we attempt the handshake, because it has a very high failure rate. Thankfully, again, due to Jard's main character powers, we managed to accomplish this in a single day. I was expecting it to take much longer and be much more difficult, but this works out too. Maybe all the difficult stuff is finally behind us. His next want is to make a high energy boost meal, and that's a lot more difficult than it sounds because food is designed not to give you very much energy. Eventually, in order to finally complete this one, I had to buy the most expensive refrigerator and just combine a bunch of weird stuff with high energy together. It seems that it doesn't really matter what you make with the high energy ingredients, as long as the ingredients are high energy, it will provide a high energy boost meal, such as this one. 100 energy, damn. But in spite of the massive boost, it's really not worth it because of how expensive the ingredients are, and now Jard's final want for the game is to woohoo with 5 separate Sims, yeah. Well, I know who our first choice is. Yeah, it's about time that we woohooed with Billy. He's been married to us for quite a while, we never even bothered, and honestly, he'll really enjoy it, even if he seems to forget we're in a relationship all the time. And now with that out of the way, we have to woohoo 4 more Sims, so let's get down to business. Thankfully, apparently Jard is completely irresistible and quickly fucks everybody else in the house. Now let's see that ending.
Fleet, Zugget, Schmicker! Whoa! Who is that?
Would you snuggle up?
Oh,
Ooh. Worst of oven? Smooth and blow.
Softly manicure and Corolla.
Oh, look that! Wiggle swivel. Slam.
Ew, trash!